Coming to you with a Guerilla boxing video. So this video is going to be a little bit different. Um, it's going to be like kind of like a breakdown analyst, but also in the process of me breaking down the fight and why Arthur beterbiev will be a good boxer one day, as he always says. Like maybe one day I will become a good boxer. And I'm saying that sarcastically, we already know he's a good boxer. And after this commentary, I'll actually talk about, the situation that unfortunately will probably unfold that will deprive us of the fight that we really want. But let's get into it. Now, first and foremost, what I didn't really like about the fight is how the judges were prepared to rob the man. They had the judges had him up, like had yard up. Two of the three judges had yard up, in the fight. And of course there was like biased UK uh pundits who, of course they supported yard, who are also biased, and they also had yard up. They said yard exposed beterbiev and this, that, and the other. But that was nothing short of far from the truth. I mean, what Arthur beterbiev did was he played possum. He played basically aggressor, and he also played the dude who swims in the murky waters where all the sharks are, and he took a bite out of Anthony Yarde. Now let's go into how he won the fight. So let's go ahead and look at this. All right, first thing I want you to notice is what beterbiev did, like a lot of Soviet fighters do, is distance deception. So what he'll do is he'll appear closer than what he really is and just stay right out of range of a punch. It's the game of inches, like as you see that right there, as we just saw. Let me pause it. So, Anthony Yarde swings, but again, he's not in range of being able to hit him. And notice how he already has him against the ropes, and it's the second round. And there's another right, and here comes the firefight that we knew was going to happen. How the fight starts. Okay, another thing. What beterbiev is very good at, and these punches are very sneaky punches and very good punches to use and add to your arsenal, is as you see Anthony Yarde is trying to flick that jab, trying to stick the jab out there, mostly using it as a flicker jab, not even necessarily using it as a rangefinder. He's not really using it as a rangefinder. He's just kind of keeping him at bay. So what beterbiev would do is, since he's already aware that maybe something would come back, he would come away from it, from the weak side of where he's punching. He would stay away from his strong hand. So you see he throws that overhead when Anthony Yarde ducks down, So the uppercut that Anthony Yarde landed would be his downfall. And we're going to see why it would be his downfall. A lot of times, if a fighter will see that something is working, he will keep on using it, right? Not knowing that other fighter is collecting data and that becoming habitual in certain things could be your downfall. Again, distance deception. Notice how, again, he's trying to throw that uppercut again, as you see. Notice how he tries to throw that uppercut again, right? Notice how Beterbiev slips out the way. And again, distance deception. Doing it with his hands down, actually. He could use footwork and just back up, but then he may put himself out of range of punching. And that's what I don't think he wants to do, because we know he applies pressure in an intelligent way.
Nice body shot there with the right from beterbiev. That's what power punchers do. They land heavy shots on you and go down.
So again, more distance deception. Like the thing is, like, I don't know where people get this notion of being flat-footed from him, because he obviously has good footwork. It's just that sometimes he uses upper body movements, subtle little upper body movements, in order to just still be in range of the punching, you know.
To the body and they slow your legs down. A good counter move right there from beterbiev. Just took a half step back and landed a 1-2 as Yarde overreached with a left hook. No disciplined jab from Yarde. That's a problem. No disciplined jab. But where you're seeing the jab from, you're seeing it from beterbiev.
Okay. Another thing that Yarde did, which goes to show you he lacked fundamentals. And in order to be a fighter, who can be unorthodox, you first have to have fundamentals. When we look at this, section, right? Hold on. So this is pure genius by beterbiev. So the thing is that, as I said before, when it comes to my school of boxing and the school of boxing in which I was trained under the Cuban Soviet system. So obviously I'm going to have a bias to it for the technical things that are involved in it. Yarde made the mistake of actually having his hand away from his like he didn't have his power hand against his near his chin. He had it kind of like outward. Maybe he thought he was quick enough that he was going to catch Beterbiev, but the reality is that Beterbiev himself said that Anthony Yarde was actually slow. But what Beterbiev did is very genius, and we're going to see. I'm going to go back again on why it was genius. So what he did is, you notice how he kind of like fainted downward, as if like maybe he was going to throw an overhead, but instead he used the lead hand to, in a way, throw a looping check hook against Anthony Yarde, and basically switch his stance to a southpaw stance, where that lead hand now becomes a power hand, and it produced results.
From Arthur Beterbiev, he's starting to find a home for his shots. He's getting steady, and he's starting to find openings. And
Again, Anthony Yarde throwing that uppercut again. You know, trying to do the same thing.
Yarde is more getting clipped. The legs underneath him are now wobbly, and here comes Arthur Beterbiev. Told you, dominate mid-range. It's a wrap now.
So what Arthur Beterbiev did, I like to say Arthur Beterbiev personally, what he did is he would throw that looping overhead that would get over the glove, right? Distance deception, let Anthony Yarde swing wild like a madman, which shows his lack of fundamentals, right? Because that hook was way too wide. As you see, he's not necessarily using his jab as a blinder. He's using his jab as kind of like a way that someone would use a nail to hammer a piece of wood. He's just setting that up right there. And then there you go. There you go.
But that left hook, it got into that last round, and it got in again in this round cleanly. Beterbiev is starting to find his range.
So his coach is even yelling, good defense, good defense. And, you know, he's underrated when it comes to the defense because he has kind of like a different type of defense as compared to like Bivol. Bivol's defense is more of in and out footwork. He does have a Philly shell as well. You know, he does have a different type of Philly shell, but that's what Bivol's defense consists of. Excuse me for a moment. Okay, I'm back. So, as you see, you know, again, defensive responsibility is something that he does. And the thing is that if he was taking a lot of punishment, right, then he would probably be already punch drunk like Jarrett Hurd, who we haven't seen in a long time because his game is take punishment and then come back in the second half and put it on you like he usually does.
That's comfortable to fight in. Where nice count, left hook, then he hurt.
Okay, so what you see here, right, is beterbiev playing possum. Now, again, it came from the uppercut, right? So you would think that beterbiev is hurt, right? You would think that he's seriously hurt. But that was actually a ploy in playing possum, as we will soon see. Because look at what happens. He turns him around. He turns him around, right? He turns him around. And who went from being hurt to now an onslaught, right? He was against the ropes and retreating, but now Yarde is the one retreating. Another thing too that we notice is that when the corner said feint him, feint him, feint him, beterbiev timed him. So when he threw a feint, he got chipped with a jab. And then you see the overhand again, you know, those overhand looping shots that, you know, Dmitry Bivol does them very good. When you see him hit the pads, and he does them in fights as well. And yeah, this is a good shot to use.
Can't miss now. Technique is definitely faded by the wayside. He's not punching himself out. He's landing a good shot. He's marching forward. He'll land another 2 good shots. He knows that he can't afford to punch himself.
Okay, so again, typical beterbiev. Lure you in, get you against the ropes, and start letting off. Okay, now here's the thing too. So even when Anthony Yarde threw that, like, he threw that haymaker, right? Beterbiev kind of, what he did is he kind of just like let it graze past his shoulder and continued going on his letting off, you know. So he even in the midst of Anthony Yarde's lack of counterpunching ability, and you know, he talked about his speed and things like that. But I mean, let's be honest, if there was speed involved, that Beterbiev wouldn't have saw that coming, and he probably thought it was very telegraphed.
That's what you're seeing right now. Uppercut from beterbiev in the bell. Explosive 5th round. There's a right hand from beterbiev. The instructions in the corner were go. And now the champion turns Yarde around. There's a couple of uppercuts, a beautiful right hand, digs to the body.
So I want you to see again the defensive responsibilities of him, because, you know, Anthony Yarde was throwing haymakers, but there's also the level changes, you know, the body attack going to the head. It wasn't just one concentrated area. The shots were going everywhere. And the thing is, when Anthony Yarde said he seemed a bit slow, what he doesn't realize is that when it comes to boxing technique, physically you may have like the gift to be faster, be a faster fighter. But if your technique is not there, then you're going to be beat by someone who said that he looks a little slow, because the thing is if his technique is right, then he's actually going to be faster than you because his technique is better. In essence, because Anthony Yarde is more muscular, so to say, he was counting on that to win this fight. He felt like, okay, I'm going to just outmuscle this guy. I got physical gifts and things like that. And so, of course, you had, unfortunately, these pro-black fight fans who think that it's all about just physical attributes when technique matters over everything else. So beterbiev is doing something that Anthony Yarde is not doing, and that is basically not loading up on punches. You know what I mean? That's the thing. He's not loading up on punches. So with that being said, the punches are coming more freely versus Anthony Yarde, who is trying to muscle his punches.
And here we see the fight we anticipated. Both fighters with their heart on their sleeve. Body shot is the key. Nice right hit, and now Yarde is hurt.
So again, what happened is that, okay, the thing is, again, this is how the fight ended, right? Beterbiev keeping that distance deception going, right? But Anthony Yarde, again, was banking on that uppercut in which Beterbiev got hit with, but uh like avoid it, and he timed him with this. Again, you see that beterbiev was trying to, okay, Anthony Yarde telegraphed the uppercut, right? He was trying to go down and use the uppercut, but beterbiev actually timed him and got him before he can get beterbiev. And this shot was timed. You know, he just got his timing down. And that's what beterbiev was doing in the whole fight. Like, people didn't realize it, but he was just getting his timing down. He was just trying to time him, you know? See? And so I think what happened is he got hit. Not only was the punch that hurt him badly, but it was the momentum of the punch going against his momentum. And so it hit him in the ear, in the equilibrium. So that's what led to that. And again, you know, beterbiev throwing that overhand that we know he likes to throw, it didn't go on the back of the head. It went at his equilibrium, which led to shaky legs.
That's the punch that just missed about 30 seconds ago. For Anthony Yarde to continue.
So what beterbiev did was sometimes what fighters do, and I know I use this a lot, you know, I use this a lot, is that you'll throw a shot that will be a decoy shot, right? So what he did is he threw that uppercut as a decoy, right? Because sometimes I do that too, and sometimes that thing works. Like, sometimes you may throw an uppercut that you know is gonna miss, but then you come back with like you use your lead hand to throw an uppercut that you know that's gonna miss, but you come back with like a two punch, or you come back with something else. So that's what he essentially did with this.
Anthony Yarde to continue. How will he deal with the onslaught from the beast?
And so the corner stopped the fight, and you know, it was only a matter of time. We knew what the writing on the wall looked like when it came to that. And you know, who knows what kind of damage would have been done if the fight continued. You know, because that dude was on shaky legs and everything. But that just goes to show you, like, the underrated boxing genius of this man and why I appreciate him so much. Like, many people, you know, appreciate fighters due to nationality. But I appreciate fighters based on their skill sets. And, you know, certain fighters have certain skill sets. Like, Demetrius Andrade has a skill set that I really appreciate. Jerron Ennis has a skill set that I really appreciate. Dmitry Bivol, Arthur beterbiev have a skill set that I really appreciate. You know, Arislan Delarna still, David Morrell, the list goes on. But what I'm going to say is that, as a closing note, unfortunately, geopolitical things may get in the way of us getting this undisputed fight that we want, because the WBC does not want their undisputed light heavyweight champion to be of Russian nationality. You know, if anything, if they could push for it, they would like, you know, a Canelo to have it, right? And I think the WBC is going to mandate beterbiev to fight Callum Smith. And hopefully, I don't know how it can happen, but hopefully Callum Smith takes step aside money. And unfortunately, because he did have such a big victory over Canelo, Dmitry Bivol has, and also had a victory over Zurdo Ramirez. It's sad to say it, but you know, Dmitry Bivol is kind of blacklisted in boxing by the WBC. So what he would have to do in order to fight, you know, beterbiev for undisputed, is he would have to petition it due to his Russian nationality. You know, because the thing is the WBC said fighters from like Belarus and fighters from Russia will not be allowed to move up in rankings and will actually be dropped down in rankings for it. You know, Beterbiev's case, he got Canadian citizenship, so that was his escape. Like that was his like ace in the hole. But the problem still is, you know, how messed up this is, you know, and it just puts it puts like the fights that we want to see, the fights that are in question, like the fights that you question, okay, who is really going to do what in that fight? It makes them like darn near impossible. You know, it's like we can do a whole podcast on the big what if fights, and we'll be going on and on and on and on and on. But with that being said, kudos, salute to Beterbiev for doing his job. Ahmed Sila, Allahu Akbar. May Allah bless Ahmed Kadyrov for his vision, for wanting to stop bloodshed. And may Allah bless his son Ramzan Kadyrov as well. Yeah, I don't mean to mix boxing with geopolitics, but you know, I just added that in there. But with that being said, let's see what happens next. Off to the next one, guys. Fool is signing out. Inshallah.